The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, South Lane, Oregon, on your new aerial pumper, job number 30569. Please utilize this job number when referencing your vehicle with Hughes Fire Equipment or Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting with the front bumper, on the passenger side, there is an electronic siren. Moving over to the driver's side of the front bumper, there are two air horns. Moving up on to the bumper itself, there is an 1.5 inch swivel discharge. Next to that, there is a diamond plate covered tubbed hose storage. In the center, there is an additional diamond plate covered tubbed storage area for hose, and moving to the driver's side, there is a mechanical siren. Moving up onto the body, on the right and left side, there are turn indicators. Moving just into the headlight cluster, the outer beam is your low beam and the inner beam is the high beam. And moving up to the next set of cluster, you have a right and left turn, and just inside of that, an emergency warning light. Moving up just under the windshield, you'll find 3 wiper blades on your seamless windshield. Moving to the right and left, you'll find your mirrors. On the top, it's flat, and on the bottom, it's convex. At the very top, you'll find 5 running lights across the top of the brow. Directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. On the right and left side, you'll find your warning light bars. Located on the driver's side, just next to the warning lights, you'll find your Opticom. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few close-ups here of the headlight cluster, in addition with the side or front marker turn. Let's go ahead and look underneath the front bumper now. You'll find there are 2 attachment points or tow hooks. These are closed, attached to the frame, in addition with a drain for your front bumper line. On the very far right-hand side or driver's side, this is a close-up of the mechanical siren. And moving just beneath that, on the face, you'll find your dual air horns. Moving to the very center of your apparatus front bumper, this is that tubbed out covered storage area for hose. And here is an image with the hose compartment in the open position. Moving just over to the left, which would be to the passenger side on the front grille, your electronic siren. And at the very top here, you'll see the cover that is notched out so that the hose can run into that and connect to your 1.5 inch swivel discharge. On the sides of the bumper, you'll find on the right and left side additional warning lights. Here is a view of the right and left mirror in the front section, and in the rear you'll find, which faces the driver, at the very top, the flat section, and at the very bottom, the convex section. These are controlled from inside the cab. Let's go ahead and look at the side of your Enforcer cab. You have door locks on all 4 doors that are keyed. In addition, on the section here showing to the arrow the red cover, this is your shore power auto eject. Moving back from that is your auto eject for your air hose. This is a 20 amp auto eject shoreline inlet. Generalized view of the side of your apparatus, and we'll now look up to the very top here. You'll find an adjustable telescoping floodlight. Just down on the body underneath this cover, you'll find a warning label regarding entanglement hazard. This is a tall compartment which houses the remainder of your pole light.
Just above that, there is an entirely through compartment, passes from the driver to the passenger side. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the components here in the hose area. To open this cover, release the buckle, which will also release the buckle on the opposite side, revealing the space behind. Once you've gained access, you'll find at the very top section there is backboard storage. Down at the bottom, you'll find a warning label for hose entanglement. And as we move through, we'll look at the number 1 cross lay in the front and the number 2 cross lay just behind that. These are both foam capable. The lever that is indicated in the center is a mechanism to allow the release of the speed loads that are located just above that. Let's go ahead and move to the pump panel area. On the left, you'll find the light, and we'll talk about some of the components here. On the left section here, there is a light that illuminates the pump area. Also in this area, you'll find 2 discharges, number 1 and number 3 discharge. They are color coded. They're 2.5 in size. We'll now move just to the far right. You'll see it's covered with duct tape at this point. This is your large diameter intake. There is also a warning label in regards to visually looking into the open orifice. On the far right hand side, you'll find your foam lever control for draft and also a connection below that. Just beneath that area, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, and at the very bottom, you'll find 4 drains. Generalized view, we'll take a look inside the compartment next. The roll-up door reveals underneath a pull-out style step. Once the step has been pulled out to display, there are 2 releases or mechanisms just on the right and left under the step, allowing you to pull the step out. Once the step is in the outward position, and then can be moved to the open position, allowing you to gain full access of the step. Let's go ahead and start at the very top of this in this pump panel area. This is a light. When it is illuminated, indicates that your pump is properly in gear. On the left, you'll find in the green your foam A tank. On the right, the large gauge, you're going to find your master intake. Moving to the right of that, you'll find 2 test ports for testing. This is the pressure and vacuum test ports. And moving up to the very top, you'll find your master discharge. At the very far right, you'll find an amber illuminated light if the PCM has faulted. And just beneath that area, you'll find an audible alarm, which is adjustable to reduce the amount of sound coming out of it by moving it left to right. As we look starting on the left-hand side, this is your front discharge on the bumper. The next one over will be your number 1 cross lay. Following that to the right is your number 2 cross lay. All of these are foam capable, and they are all locking in position. To the right, you'll find your Husky foam system. We'll have a couple close-ups of this to help out in some directions. Next to that, your primer fire pump. Down at the bottom, you'll find a gauge, which is for your intake relief valve. And moving to the right, you'll find this, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here in more detail, which is your throttle control. First, let's talk about your Husky system. The very top you'll find in green is the on-off switch. Just beneath that, you'll find a digital readout of the percentage of foam displayed. The 2 gray buttons are for 1 increase or decrease. There is also a prime button and also a system status indicating the red, yellow lights that may be dependent upon that gauge. In the upper right-hand corner, your Pierce governor here has a check engine light. In addition, on the very far side of this, you'll find a stop engine light if illuminated. You're also going to find additional information regarding your information on your engine for water temp, battery, fuel level. Down in this location in blue, you'll find your water tank level indicator. There is also in red a silence button to silence the audible alarm. Moving down from that, you'll find the menu button to select through the various functions. Down at the very bottom, you'll find the switch indicating for pressure control if you are in that mode. And on the far right, you'll find the switch or light indicating for RPM or throttle control. This is how you move through those in control modes. And then next to it is your throttle ready light. If this is engaged, you can increase the throttle. In the green, there are predetermined presets that you can program. And at the very bottom, this is your throttle. Turn right to increase and left to decrease. Let's go ahead and look at your primer for the fire pump. This is the auto prime on off. It's best if you increase your RPMs to 1,000 while priming. Just beneath that, this is your intake relief pressure. And as we move to the far left-hand side of your pump panel, you'll find the very first switch is a spare, driver's side floodlight, passenger side floodlight, driver's side scene light, and an additional passenger side scene light. At the very bottom, there is also the potential for a future switch if needed. Let's go ahead and move back to the pump panel now. We'll talk about some of the components here. Let's start first with the Pierce maintenance schedule. This is your 150, 200, and 250, and subsequent pressures and GPM associated with those for your pump testing. Moving to the right, you'll find your Husky foam system specifications and instructions. Just to the right of that, this is going to be a wheel valve, which is your aerial discharge. Moving to the far left, this is your tank fill and recirculating line. And moving to the right of that is your tank to pump, both indicating locking ability. Moving to the right of that, these are going to be your two Acron electronic valves. We'll talk a little bit more about those in the next set of images. Let's go ahead and move down to the very bottom. Because this is an aerial device that can be moved into the air, there's some information regarding electrical shock. This is your primer drain. This is not a pull or push. This is a twist. And we'll talk a little bit about this compartment here and the accesses, what's behind it. You have 5 drains across the very bottom. They are independently colored to the individual discharges. Let's take a look behind the access door now. At the very top, there is a yellow handle. This handle is in the horizontal position for foam operation or the fill position. Down beneath that, you'll find your red switch here with also a yellow indicator light regarding your pump override. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the components on the operator side. There is a red light and a white light located at the very top. The red light is to help assist for setup of your aerial device and the location of your outrigger. This is a floodlight or side-facing flood on the passenger and driver side. At the very bottom, same as it is on the opposite side, your folding wheel chocks, and just next to that, this is your stabilizer jack. Let's move further back and take a look at this compartment here and some of the components with inside it. While you look in this compartment, you're going to find 2 shelves and a pull-out shelf, but the arrow indicated just in the last image was regarding information about your stabilizers. To access this compartment, push down the black lever, which will allow the drawer to pull out in an outward position. Once it's in this position that it is now, all you have to do is reverse or push the black shelf release to move it back in. This is the section here in silver for your stabilizer. Be cautious, there is a pinch hazard associated with this because there are moving pieces. In these compartments, let's take a look. In the very bottom section, this is a 4.5 US gallon DEF tank in blue. Just above that, you'll find bottle storage location. As we move further back to the center compartment, you'll find at the bottom a warning light. And as we look up into the roll-up compartment here, you'll find an adjustable shelf located in the center. Let's go ahead and move back to the very back compartment here. In this small compartment, this is where you'll find your diesel fuel. This is the fill location for ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel only. It is a silver cap. Let's move back to the very last compartment on this side of your apparatus. In this compartment, you'll find a variety of adjustable shelves and a pull-out shelf. Underneath this section here, you'll also find your stabilizer pads. In this section in the very back is a shoreline output. This is the mechanism here to allow you to pull the shelf out by moving the latch. Gains access to the shelf in its full outright position. Once again, this is your stabilizer pad. There is one in the back on the right and on the left. Generalized view of the side and rear portion of your apparatus. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the components on the side where the ladder is located. These are the components that are in between the ladder steps. This is a front to back inclinometer. Moving down to the very bottom, if your ladder is not stored properly, this is the sensor for that. Let's take a look at the very top. This is the pedestal. There are some warning labels located here, in addition with an audible speaker located on the very far left of the pedestal. As we open the pedestal cover, you'll find at the very top, this is your communication to the person on the tip. Just beneath that, this is going to be what increases or decreases the volume level for communicating to the tip. At the very top in the red, there is an emergency stop button. As we move to the right-hand side, this is your Pierce command zone. Has various information regarding your engine hours and additional information regarding the apparatus components. Moving down, you have your extend right, left, and lower joysticks. And moving to the left, you'll find once again some additional danger and warning labels. And a very important label on the left, this is regarding your ladder while water is flowing and while water is not flowing. On the ladder, on the very last fly, you'll find those two steps, and at the base of the ladder, an additional compartment for storage. These are the two fold-down steps I referred to just a few moments ago. This position is when your fly is not is completely extended, but you've chosen to pin the waterway. You have forward-facing or up ladder lights here on the right and also on the left. On the right and left side, you also have side-facing floodlights. This is going to be toward the very tip of the ladder. This is the last set of steps prior to the end of the tip. In this section, this is your pinnable waterway. This is to pin the waterway from the tip area. This can only be done while the ladder is in a stored position, and it rotates with a handle on the right-hand side, and I have some images of that in the next set of images. This is the tip area. This is the speaker for communication to the person at the base. And just beneath that area, these are the controls regarding that speaker for increasing and decreasing volume. This is going to be for your fog nozzle, for straight stream or fog, right to left movement, or up or down movement. This is just at the very tip. There is also an LED light that illuminates this in the evening time. Generalized view from the tip looking back to the base of your ladder. On the tip of your ladder, you can see that there are 4 forward-facing LED floodlights. There is also a red removable tip section. Beneath that, this is your fog nozzle. This is the lever I referred to about pinning your waterway back from the tip. And this is the control for your actual TFT. Generalized view of the rear of your apparatus. We'll talk about the components here next. At the very top, you can see you have rear-facing scene lights, and at the very top, an emergency warning light. Located in the center of your apparatus, you'll find to the rear a rear-facing reverse camera, and just to the left-hand side where the license plate location is, to the right of that, you'll find a location for ladder storage. The ladders here are located at the very bottom for their links. It's 2 roofs and an extension. On the other side, you'll find additional danger and warning labels throughout this area. Let's take a look in the compartment here on the passenger side. Additional ladder storage here with also long pole storage and also your folding 10-foot ladder. Also be aware of the warning labels associated in this area. There is also a switch to turn on the deck lights, which are just above you. As we move to the center of this, you'll find a center roll-up compartment and a fold-down door just underneath that. Let's take a look at those images next. When the door is in its rolled-up position, it reveals a center-mounted shelf. And as we can see just to the bottom of this section, you'll find an additional door, and this door is for all of your components regarding valves. We'll talk about that in just a moment. There are two anchor points here in black, closed, and a center mounted input for large diameter hose. This is a access door for your aerial drain. This is a left to right indicator for your leveling of your apparatus. There are also warning and hazard labels associated with those attachment points. And this is the door directly below the center door. This houses all of your information here and valves regarding your stabilizers. In addition, with 3 valves for your ladder. On the left here, you have reverse, turn, and brake, an additional warning light. And in this section here, behind this access door is where you would control the left side stabilizer. There is also a diagnostic interface here, and this is also where you'd access emergency hydraulic power. Behind this compartment door is the open and close for your aerial drain. On the right-hand side, you'll find a small access door here, which houses the passenger side or right stabilizer controls, in addition with an emergency stop and also stabilizer controls. Generalized view of the right-hand side or passenger side of your apparatus. This is an image showing your ladder on the driver's side fully extended, and this is one on the passenger side fully extended. Underneath the very last compartment, you'll find your stabilizer pads. Underneath the stabilizer pads or near the step area at every access point, you'll find perimeter lighting for firefighter safety. Let's go ahead and take a look at this large compartment. This is the passenger side rear compartment. This is a roll-up door. There are 2 adjustable shelves at the top and a pull-out or pull-out style shelf on the bottom. Let's now go ahead and move to the compartments near the rear tire section or just below the long compartment. In this compartment, you'll find SCBA storage. When this compartment door is open, you can find the ability for 2 bottles in this location. Just forward of this location, you'll find an additional emergency light just above the rear tire. Moving forward of this location is an additional bottle storage location. When this door is open, you can see that you can store 2 SCBA bottles in this location. Moving forward of that location to the stabilizer jack, you'll find an additional hazard or danger label in this area and an emergency warning light. And also I'd like to point out in this area, this is the location where your exhaust comes out and it can be extremely hot. Let's take a look at this compartment. As we look inside this compartment, you'll find that there is a tool board in this compartment. It is fully adjustable from front to rear. It also opens. When it's in the open position, it will lock. To return that lock to normal, lift the pin, which will restore the board back to its original position. There are also lights as they are on the opposite side. The red light is for assisting for stabilizer location, and the white light is a general scene light. Let's move to these 2 compartments here. As we look inside, you'll find 1 fixed shelf in the first compartment. As we move to the next compartment, which is an additional roll-up door, we'll talk about the components within this compartment. As you can see, there is a fixed shelf on the 2 lower sections and then a pull-out, pull-down shelf in the next top position. At the very top, there is also a shore power outlet. To make this drawer work, it's slightly different than the others. There is a right and left pin. Those pins pull toward the center of each other. When they are moved to the center, that will allow the drawer to pull forward and downward. The components from here moving forward are virtually identical as the opposite side. This is that pole light, which is located directly in the diamond plated area. This is the through compartment here, located in the diamond plate area also. This runs from the passenger side all the way through to the driver's side. This is your cross-lay compartment behind the cover. These are the two cross-lays that you see on the opposite side and accessing from this side, in addition with a long or board storage location for EMS tools. This is the lever, same as it is on the other side, the mechanism to release the ABS plastic to be able to pull those shelves out. In the upper left-hand corner of your pump panel, this is your cab lift. In the center with the duct tape, this is your large diameter intake. Moving just beneath that is your passenger side auxiliary 2.5 intake. Moving over to the far right is an additional discharge 2.5 inch, and at the very bottom a large diameter discharge. Let's point out a couple of things here also. At the very bottom there are 4 drains, but what I'd like to focus in on is just above there are 2 cutouts here for the top and bottom. These are for tools in case your electronic valves fail. These are overrides. Also in the very top, there is an additional warning label regarding looking into the eye. These are the overrides once again for the discharges color-coded in orange and also color-coded in green. This is a close-up of your cab lift. Raise and lower is protected by a switch cover, and the activate is to the right, and the instructions and directions are here. Be cautious when lifting your cab. Generalized view of the right side of your apparatus. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the components with inside the cab. As you can see, each of the doors is outfitted with reflective tape, and they all have a seatbelt warning label. Your vehicle has been inspected and meets all UL listed, and it also has warning and caution labels regarding diesel emission, and also make sure that you read your owner's manual prior to operation. This yellow sticker here is indication for a variety of things. It has your date of manufacture, job number, gross vehicle weight rating, VIN number, and it also has all of the fluid capacities that are required for this, in addition to the types of fluid. Let's go ahead and start looking at the operator section here as we move into the cab. Let's first start at the very bottom. This is a foot pedal for your mechanical siren, which is next to the brake treadle. Moving up into this section, left knee area of the operator, you have your ABS diagnostic switch, DPF regen, engine diagnostic, and also regen inhibit. At the very top is your master battery on-off switch, and moving to the right in the green is your engine, transmission, and ABS port. Generalized view of the steering column. We'll talk about some of the components near it. On the right side, right knee of the operator, this is a digital readout of your pump pressure. To the right hand side, these are your right and left mirror controls. As you can see in yellow, this is your main system parking brake. Pull to apply and push to release. We'll talk about these switches here as we move into the next set of components. Let's start at the very top with your aerial master switch, aerial PTO engage, which is an indicator, stabilizers not stowed, an additional indicator, stabilizer lights, and deck lights. Let's move down to the next set of switches. Let's start with the engine brake. This is an on-off switch. The one next to it is the engine brake for low, medium, and high setting. Moving to the right of that, you'll find your air horn or your electric horn selection switch. In red, siren brake, mirror heat, and your load manager. Moving down to the very bottom, you'll find your stationary OK to pump while rolling. This is an indicator switch, your water pump, foam system, pump and roll, off-road traction, and on the very far right you'll find your chain switch, which has the do not remove sticker on it. On the left, on the dash area, this is your ignition switch. Moving up from that, this is the start switch for your engine. In the small component of switches to the right of that, you'll find this one that says EM. This is your emergency master. It is a master emergency switch for all your emergency lights. This is your on-off switch for your headlights and parking lights. And to the right of that, this is a panel dim switch or brighten switch. On the right of that, right knee of the operator, this is the OK high idle indicator, which is in green, and you can engage the high idle switch. This is going to be your dash. There are a variety of different gauges on this. Please familiarize yourself with those gauges. This will give you your oil pressure, DEF level, water, transmission temperature, your RPMs for your tachometer, your speedometer, volts, fuel, front and rear air, in addition with heads-up display here at the very top for information regarding your apparatus, right and turn flash indicators, and at the very bottom you'll find information regarding your miles and also tripometer. On the right, that's the push for windshield wiper fluid and turn on and off. In the center, you'll find your climate control. This is a cover covering your shroud of your apparatus engine for mounting of equipment. Let's talk overhead the operator, and let's first look at this yellow tab here. This is the height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating, and it also has your job number. Over the operator's head, you have your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower warning, and upper warning switches. To the right of this location, you'll find an additional cluster of switches. In those switches, you'll find your front flood, driver side scene, passenger side scene, driver side flood, passenger side flood, and at the very end you'll find your perimeter lights, which are the under cab lights for ground effect. We'll go ahead and move to the right of that. This is going to be the control for your PA system in addition with your electronic siren. This is your monitor for your backup camera. Just forward of that location, you'll find this red indicator light, which if on is indicating you have a compartment open or stabilizers out. Over the operator and the passenger, you have visors, which are smoke-covered plexi. There are handrails or grab rails on the left A and A pillar on the driver and passenger side. We're looking to the rear. There are two center-mounted SCBA seats. Overhead, you have push-on, push-off red and white lights, and you can see the air conditioning vents located here. Once again, all doors accessing for personnel will have this indicator for seat belts. There is also inside the cab, your seat belts are red color, so they can easily be identifiable if you are wearing your seat belt. Just behind the operator's seat, you'll find this is a 12-volt battery charger for shore power. In between the passenger seat and the driver's seat, you'll also find shoreline outlets on both the right and left side. Once again, another view here of the battery charger. An additional view here, right and left, you'll see the shore power plugs. And in between this, just below the cowling here, you'll find this access door. This is your access door for your oil and your transmission for your regularly daily checks. This is a compartment that has a light inside of it for ease of use. And as you can see on the right and on the left hand side, here are those plugs, 15 amp shoreline outlets. So while you're plugged into shore power, these will be active. Once again, entry point here for a person. There is seatbelt information and also the sticker on the side there for reflective tape. Let's go ahead and move now to the very front of the cab. Passenger side seat, same concept. This has the warning stickers here. It also has the reflective tape on the lower section. But let's move up to the next section here. This is the sticker regarding SRS, which is your supplemental restraint system. This vehicle is equipped with an airbag on this side. This is the location of it. Do not block this airbag with any equipment. On the right hand side here, you'll see your fill for your windshield wiper fluid. On the very bottom at the floor level, this is going to be a foot pedal for your mechanical siren. Let's move up to the dash. On the left hand side, you'll find 2 barrel plugs for 12 volt access in addition with a siren. Overhead, you'll find push button on off red and white lights. This is the grab handle on the A pillar on the passenger side. This is the air horn switch, and once again the 2 barrel plugs, which are 12 volt style access. This is the cover over the shroud for equipment mounting. You can see there is also a visor on this side that is smoked. Congratulations, South Lane Fire, on your new pumper aerial device. If you have any questions regarding the content of this video or any further questions, please consult your Hughes Fire Equipment sales representative. Thank you and good luck with your new apparatus.